Daniella Cannizzaro,
Here I
welcome.
am.
How are you?
Hello, thanks for inviting me. I'm very good, especially now I'm talking with you. Such a nice guy.
Look, on today's episode, I want to chat with you about developing resilience and bouncing back, workplace politics, and focusing on oneself. In the last 5-10 years, you've had some significant challenges personally and professionally. You've developed a resilience muscle. I'd love to learn how you shifted from these challenges into a resilient mindset. Tell me, there's been a lot of bumps in the road, but you
actually witnessed some of that.
Yes.
So yes, I have to say, last 10 years, there have been five, have been probably the toughest of my life, personally and professionally speaking. And one was obviously affecting the other side, and they ignite this kind of spiral. The spiral can be vicious or virtuous. It always depends on the way that you see it. So especially that kind of bumps that have been affecting my physical being. For the listeners, I broke a couple of bones here and there. I needed a lot of surgeries. During the last 5 years, I undertook 8 surgeries so far. That is something that normally someone experiences in a lifetime. And actually, I hope that nobody experienced 8 surgeries in a row. And they were all very tough in terms of consequences. In eyesight, from like the simplest of breaking a leg, that was the simplest thing that happened to me. But the rest, they were really affecting my way of existing. And when I say that, it means I wasn't able to eat, I wasn't able to talk. It was a face surgery. It was very tough coming from an accident. And so you spent a lot of time on your own. That's the point. And when you are on your own, either you get along with yourself and your darker side, because exactly in that moment, all the darker side and the demons that you have inside, scrolling your back, and they appear basically on your back and start talking like blah, 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 blah. So I think that exactly the moment of facing all biggest fear that were coming from a very simple question like, how can I get out of this hole? Or how can I get back to my normal life doing simple things? How can I eat again? Those things makes you face your fears. And the only way is to break in what I was doing, mentally speaking, was just taking the old path of recovering and breaking it down in small pieces. Like without thinking like, okay, in 3 years' time, what I'm gonna do is or having a vision. That was always with me. Like the dream, the kind of vision that I got for my life was already there, but I had to get to action. And the only way to get clarity is to get in actionability. So the only point to get to action is just breaking the big vision into so many little targets. So what I was doing, okay, my objective for tomorrow is gonna start drinking again water. Yes. My target for the next week is gonna start eating something that is actually not toddler food. So slowly, that kind of little succeeds, because for me, what really succeed, like it can be something very stupid, something that we take for given. So how? Like having normal action, getting out with your friends, having a beer. That was impossible. So instead of creating me fake hopes, somehow was just let go step by step. And that thing as slowly creating in me these strengths. Then now, because my big vision when I was going through all those changes, the physical change, they have created a psychological change in terms of changing my personal life.
Did you find it was something that was instinctual? Because your background in campaign strategy and marketing, did this like became your own project? So did you find that those kind of skills kicked in, or was it more of a means of necessity, that the part of your survival instincts, or both, is that where that came from? Where did understanding to do this at a bite-sized approach come from?
I actually thank you, because I never thought about that, like the symbiotic way of working, or the two words. But it's actually true. I mean, the first book that a strategist working in marketing read is The Art of the War. That is Sun Tzu. So that is a kind of current that you follow for everything you do work-wise, and can be absolutely applied in your personal life. And now that you make me think about it, it's exactly the kind of strategy that I do when I have a big project like global product launch. When I mean, if you face it like, oh, fuck, it's a global product launch. What I'm going to do? I'm a tiny little girl. Like, how can I handle it? And it's actually true. So I break it down. That is the point. I just break it down, having in the back end the big vision of the launch. So yes, that was it. Because my launch on my personal life, it was exactly that. I'm going to be in Spain, and I'm going to launch my company and getting those events in Barcelona that nobody is doing. And that was like 3 years before. From the moment that I said and the moment that I did it, there were 3 years in the middle of 3 years of healing. It was exactly like that. From start eating again to dropping 500 people events. Absolutely. Yeah. After the war, and being a ninja, like a panda. I actually always consider myself a panda, because I'm very clumsy like pandas, but I survive against this against the stress and of the world.
And so you did find that with your skill set, with your profession, that this did help you with the progress and the processes to heal your body and come out of this. Like, because there was also rebuilding you on a personal and a professional level at the same time. They were kind of happening both at the same time.
Exactly. Like, I think there was what is called a quantic entanglement. So when two systems got in contact, those two systems are connected forever, and one feeds the other and vice versa. So they create this kind of infinity nutrition, one for the other. So what I got, the healing path, was actually getting energy from the structures that I was using for work. And the healing was actually affecting a positive way the professional side, because exactly the body was healing, even the mind, because what I was developing inside for myself was, okay, I need to take really the reins of my life and getting a more healthy professional life, because you have seen the amount of hours that I was working by then. I mean, it doesn't really change that much, but the quality of those hours instead has changed.
It's different. Yes, yeah.
The amount is more or less the same, but the kind of stress that I'm having
it's the mindset, the different outlook of it, how you, like the way you're thinking about your work.
Exactly.
Whether you could be doing the same 8, 10, 12 hours a day, but it's like how you structure those days. Yeah. Did you find that the symptom from this experience was resilience, but at the same time you kind of had to be resilient as well? Like you developed resilience, like it came out of you as well at the same time.
100%. Is any longer like, the energy vortex, no? Is the same shape, but one is red towards green, and the positive one is the up on the red. So it's from green to blue. I think I did all the way from the bottom up. That was the point. And while I was climbing this vortex, the vortex turns to be a virtuous spiral. And in this, resilience, healing physically, mentally, and professionally, that all came together, and they create this harmonic system inside. Okay. And now what I'm seeing that a lot of times when I'm facing crazy challenges work-wise, I'm taking them like a piece of cake. I'm not joking. I mean, not to get less importance to the professional side, but probably
it's a lot easier. It's a lot
super easy. very easy. Like sometimes the level of stress, especially when I'm organizing events, like having, what does it mean organizing events? You have 500 people dancing and probably a performer that is falling from the third floor. Like these kind of things happen in festival-wide events. And I was the kind of person that can keep calm very easily, exactly for that, because the resilience that my body, my mind was building in the healing process led me reprioritize. That's a very difficult word. Reprioritize something like all those things. So absolutely.
Right. Tell me, your work in Paris was quite an intense time. And what were some of the challenges in the workplace? What was the outcome during and after? Like, how did you sort of, like, it must have been such a difficult time, but you kind of pulled yourself through it and came out the other end.
Yeah, exactly. So that was actually my first global position. Was since the first beginning was pretty tough. And unlikely, the human factor is so important, especially when we work. And people that we work with have a great, enormous, energetic impact on us. Not only talking about the outcome, professionally speaking, actually that was very good, but the outcome on my body. So I got those two bosses. And this is something that I am experienced a lot, especially with people aged between 50 and 60. This kind of generation, they are thirsty of power. They're really thirsty of power. They're not ready to share. There is something instead that I admire a lot of our generation, this kind of switch in terms of mind. I mean, not everybody. I'm not talking that our generation is peace and love. Absolutely not. Sure. But I can see that kind of manager class are more focused on getting the power of themselves and showing off what they're doing in the same way they're showing off themselves. They're subduing their own employees, not getting to the point that actually pushing in a nice way your employees made them blush and getting a better outcome for you so you can show off even more. So what happened was instead, those two bosses were horrible, like stealing your job and just pushing away and being very tough mentally speaking. So some days they were calling us on Snapchat. Writing us on Snapchat at 2 a.m. for getting things done, and then contacting us every touch point that they could contact us at every day, every hour, and not having mercy at all. So this was really stressed me out, and probably was one of the causes of my next surgeries because I got an infection, blah, blah. So what I did, I was actually imploding, and I could feel my mind and my body, they were losing it. So after thinking about the strategy, the exit strategy, I was like, okay, I can do that. I can face that. I was always like pushing myself in, yes, you can do it. This kind of 5 a.m. morning club power people that say, yeah, I'm part of that. I was like, no, I'm not absolutely nothing about it. No. What I do, and accepting that I don't have to be part of this game. So what I was thinking is like making myself redundant, but that would be a failure for me. And instead,
that was something that was like you were facing at the time. Turning away felt like you were dealing with the failure story.
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Because I thought the turning away and drop it would be a failure for me.
Right.
And then I watched this failure. I was like, it's not actually a failure taking care about your mental health and not following the sick path of those people. This is actually loving yourself.
Yeah.
So from failure, that this is what the society normally tells you, like this is status quo, so you have to follow these rules. And for me, it was like, no, those rules are actually very sick. So what I'm doing is just giving myself some self-love. And the self-love was, okay, I'm gonna drop it, you're gonna stay with this shit, and I'm gonna take care of myself. And this is exactly what I did it. And I'm so glad because that moment that at the beginning of this transformational path that I thought was a failure, that was actually the beginning of a huge transformation that brought me here now. Keep on being a global strategist from one side, having my event company, living under the sun and having my way of working. And suddenly now I have this is a very nice learning that I got it. So the other months I was receiving a new client and suddenly I recognized the same path.
This is recently?
Recently. So after all this transformation, and I say, okay, and now I'm very, very conscious about myself, my value, and why and when I can say no, thank you. So last month, I've been engaged for a freelance project in Italy. And suddenly, like during the first 5 minutes of meeting, I recognize in one of the manager exactly the same patterns.
Right.
Of those two in Paris. And I say, maybe just my feeling, my guts don't really always get it like perfectly. And a couple of days later, I was like, no, my guts get it. They know. My mind recognized this. And with all the peace of mind, without absolutely any discussion, was like, really sorry, but I can't take this project. And suddenly, one of the strategists that was working in the agency was calling me and say, Dani, you're completely right. This is what it is. Blah, 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 blah. Escape.
So I guess with the resilience, you also developed a strength in understanding your boundaries as well, and knowing like what's right. And I guess you developed a stronger radar.
Yes, exactly.
Being able to detect the things that don't work for you,
because
there's so many good things came out of all this. It seems, you know, from that hardship that what you went through.
There is
obviously something. Yeah, there was something that you had to go through.
Absolutely, there is a poem in Italy that says, "From diamond, flowers are not born by diamonds. Flowers are born from shit." Nature, this is nature.
Can you say it for me in Italian?
Da diamanti non nasce niente, dalla merda nascono I fiori.
I love it.
This is
so cool.
Actually, very true. Mother Nature is already telling us how things work, basically. And that's true. If I can get an advice that now I'm so clear with my mind, is like, once you get to the resilient point, don't get in the trap of resilience, because each stage has its own trap, no? So the resilience can be, okay, I feel Superman. No. Resilience, like the deep one, is exactly recognizing where are your limits and be able to say, no, I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
How do you know? Because generally, I always find too with myself that to understand the difference between when there's a detection of this nature that you're describing. Because sometimes when we're trying to go through change, there's also this resistance as well. How do you detect going, this resistance is healthy or it's unhealthy resistance? Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what are the triggers or the signs that help you understand, okay, this is just because it's a new thing and my body is just telling me that it wants to adjust, or it's telling me no, like I'm not meant to be doing this. So what are the triggers for you that helps you understand that?
So I think my body now is telling me so many things and I'm recognized that.
So it's more of a feeling thing, like you feel your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a body thing. It's a body thing. I mean,
that's amazing. I love it.
I have a rush every time that something is bad. The stress is more about resistance because it's negative resistance. It's something, the path is negative instead of being positive. It can sound weird, but I have a rush every time something is very negative. Exactly where I got the infection, I got a rash coming over on my face, comes straight after.
Yeah.
And I think that is my body, probably, that everything is connected, that is communicating with me. So I start having like this strange red stain here on the face where I have the scarf. And okay, no, my body's communicating, sorry. And my scarf is talking with me, bye.
Perfect. Yeah, I can relate to that.
I mean, it's true. Sometimes we forgot the body. When we have our stomach that is actually on pain, it's because the stomach is talking with you.
Yeah. Totally. Even from like in a sort of 3D perspective, I recently had a shoulder problem, and it's easy to say, well, it's because I pushed it in the gym. But there were so many layers behind that. Like, why was I pushing it in the gym?
Exactly.
Like there's a story behind that. Dig a little deeper. Why was I pushing myself in the gym that caused that injury? It's something like there's yeah. With the workplace politics, this seemed to strengthen you and developing an understanding, like helping you with communication between clients and how to deal with working on projects, no matter what kind of client it is. This experience was obviously a very profound one, and it was a significant one with these two superiors at the time. Were your previous challenges, did you find that, did they also help with dealing with these two individuals? Or was it something that, again, coming back to the way it was for you instinctually, because you knew something was wrong? Obviously, a part of your brain and body was like, again, the survival mode kicked in. Was it a combination? Like that's where I'm getting at. Like, was it a combination of previous skill sets that helped you, dealing with people, with clients or difficult colleagues?
I have to say, that was exactly the moment that the personal resilience was helping in. So to survive, I mean, I have been working before. The time range that we are talking about is 1 year and a half of slavery.
Yeah.
If I can tell, because that was poor slavery. Somehow the resilience that I received from my body, from a personal side on the previous chapter, was helping me going through that moment. So I wouldn't say that my experiences work-wise were helping me on that, rather than my personal experiences were helping me.
Right.
But for sure, the result is that now I, work-wise, every time I see something that doesn't go correctly, is not on the track of the contract, and it just getting out of there, especially because this happened in France. And France is pretty known for being the best country in the world for workers' rights. And
where? In
France.
In
Paris.
Yeah. That's right. I remember you telling me this a while ago.
Paris, France in general, not only Europe, but in the world, in the entire world, they have the best law code for the rights of the workers. So now that I got the incipit, the inceptions actually from other French workers. Now I know exactly this helped me to put my boundaries, like, hi, I'm a worker and I have this right. And furthermore, I'm a human being, so you have to respect that.
Yeah. Amazing. The outcome that came from all this, you said that you had the vision of what you wanted to do. And I mean, I remember you discussing ideas when you were even before Paris, of things that you were inspired by. While the vision wasn't totally clear, there was like ideas and things that you wanted to do that was kind of aligned with a more of your heart and what you like yourself. Do you think that like focusing on these projects, even from the inception, like those earlier days, and then going through them and then having the freedom to do them, because like after that, it was like, what else can I do now? Let's create. Let's do what you've come out. So focusing on those projects seemed to have a sense of purpose of connecting with yourself and focusing on yourself, working on those projects, the things that you have now, Ceremonia Tribe. Was that part of the healing process?
Yes.
Yeah,
that is the result.
That was the result. Yeah.
That is the physical result. The physical result of the healing, physically and mentally and work-wise, is Ceremonia. There's the proof that having a vision, going through the up and down and embrace them, and getting into actionability proves you to get the results that you want with a lot of determination, obviously. So what I'm doing now, aside from this moment that we are on a hold-on mode from the pandemic, but we are not stopping. Like the guys that I'm living with, my friends, are part of Ceremonias. So we are keep on brainstorming, and we're actually working for the next chapter. That's going to be super nice. They are adding things, obviously applying to the new politics and new norms against the virus. I have to say that the result was, from one side, Ceremonia. Obviously, I didn't drop my career because it's something that I really like also, is to be a strategist. And I didn't drop that. I actually started doing in a proper way. I'm working only with projects and clients that I share values with. For example, last year, I worked the whole year with Primavera Sound. This year, I'm working for organic food and beer. So everything that for me has a purpose, okay, I work for you. This worth my time. I mean, I am enough lucky now to.
It's not just about chasing the money or the projects.
Before it was like that, because like all the millennials, I was kind of broke. Now that I have this kind of security, I can give myself the luxury of choosing.
But that could also be a result of the experiences as well. It's like, you know now that aligning yourself with projects that are aligned with your values, it doesn't affect your health in the way that previous projects did.
Exactly. I was feeling bad. I mean, when I was working with projects that I knew they were like killing our mother planet, I was feeling so bad inside. Instead, I tell you, when last year I was in charge for all the sponsorship projects for Primavera Sound, even though it was midnight, my mind was so happy and aligned with myself that this wasn't impacting on my body, because I believe in it and I was lagging in, and I know that what I was doing was actually good for other people, because music is always good for everybody. So aligning my values with my professionalism was the key. And from one side was keep on doing the strategies work-wise with clients that I believe in, and even by hours, because now I'm a freelancer, so I'm a consultant. So I decide when I work, basically. I mean, I have always my 12 hours of working, but for example, I'm not working in the morning. In the morning, I take my time for do my yoga, for go running, to take my walk, especially now that I live in Barcelona. That is such a beautiful place. This is a luxury. This is a proper luxury that I developed through time, exactly undertaking challenges that were very tough. So like the devil wears Prada. I knew that I have to go through that thing to then having this kind of results. And the other side was Ceremonia. So it's the both side of myself, I think, that came to life.
So the projects were healing, and eventually, so they served a purpose to heal, but then it became the norm. Like what you're doing now, you know now to be selective with the types of projects that you work on. They have healing properties still, because it creates a positive working environment for you. So that way you're not slipping back into these old kind of patterns or unhealthy ways. Is that fair to say? Yeah,
absolutely. Like those unhealthy steps are helping me now to capture what is good and what is not.
It takes time though, right? Like it takes time to, when you're working on yourself, to get the right formula that works for you. It's not something that can just happen overnight. Like you.
Nah. Rome wasn't built in a day. Absolutely not. It's a never-ending path, I would say. I mean, the point where I am now is the most conscious point that I got on myself in my life.
Okay.
I'm very conscious of the existing being. And these, a lot of time we just exist. We don't realize we exist. It's not a thinking over, but it's a thinking deeper about ourselves. So I gave myself the space to exist and to still. That was my big revelation. Not always like doing, was the stillness. Sometimes the stillness is very healthy for ourselves. I was like allowing myself not always to do, but also to think, to be, just to be, without neither thinking. like getting way before. And this, I think, is a problem of the modern world, the Western modern world. Descartes, a philosopher, back in the days, say the worst shit ever. That is cogito ergo sum in Latin. That means I think, so I exist. Such a horrible sentence, because we exist, ever know if we don't think about it. It's a kind of strange way of thinking of the Western culture, that you always have to think or to do to exist. Instead, the stillness that we receive from mainly Oriental philosophies and discipline, in those kind of cases, stillness has such a huge importance, because it's that stillness that lets you the space to exist and to realize yourself. This is the point where I arrived here now. My 35 years old is exactly that. Like, stillness is taking time just to stop and exist. That's so nice.
Is that what focusing on yourself looks like to you? Is finding that space, and that's the priority before anything else, rather than focusing on the to-do, the success.
Exactly.
Because all those other things are just symptoms, aren't they? They fall into place after you put that as a priority, the focusing on oneself.
Yeah, exactly. Because we focus on ourselves because we have an objective. I mean, that is very important. Absolutely. I'm a very self-realization person. Absolutely. I'm very, you know me, I'm a train basically on the realization path. But to get to that point in a good way, you also have to get a moment without objectives, without targets, nothing of that, nothing. Because otherwise you are just like pushed by those waves, selfness.
You have to stop and connect.
Yes, exactly.
And Ceremonia Tribe, that's been just growing for you and been amazing to watch, to see it develop to what it is now. And are there anything happening apart from preparation for post-COVID, when that day will come? Are you doing anything at the moment?
We are thinking about it, because we are maybe thinking to get back to streaming. But I have a resistance on the streamings. I'm having some resistance because psychologically it gets back people to a very tough moment of our life somehow. And somehow people are adjusting their own life to live with the virus, but they don't want to stay in the house and watch a screen. So we're still on the brainstorming side of that, because we really would like to deliver something to people, but probably the streaming is not the solution. So we're thinking about a new way. Probably podcast like you are doing is one of the best things, so people can actually have their own moment. No, they are not obligated to stay in front of a screen during Saturday night.
So to all the listeners, where they can find Ceremonia Tribe, where can they find you?
We are on Instagram mainly. So it's Ceremonia_BCN, Barcelona. And on Facebook as well. Same kind of account. And that's it.
Well, Daniela, it was lovely to see you today.
Oh, it's
Thank you so
lovely
much
to speak with you. Always such a very nice occasion to grow.
Thank you so much. It was awesome. That was a lovely conversation. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Same from here.
Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Ciao.